Morning, everybody. It is Thursday, July 6th, 2023. Took me a second to get that, but I'm on it now. All right, ask me anything time. Got all the questions called up. There's a fair amount, so I'll do my best to not dilly-dally and just see if I can't punch through as many as humanly possible. So let's see how this goes. All right. Let me find the most upvoted question. I'm scrolling a bit. All right, here we go. Most upvoted question from our friend in France, Ben G. All right, so Ben wrote, as you realize that your program is working and we're all getting fitter, stronger, faster, and more capable in gymnastics, are you making workouts a bit harder or not? Are you making it a bit spicier, knowing that potentially more and more of us are capable of hitting the goal? Asking for a sore friend. I guess the short answer is no. I'm not making them intentionally harder or whatnot. And I actually think, how to say this succinctly and not turn this into a 30-minute deal. I actually think one of the challenging things to do as a programmer is not fall into that trap. Well, it's the more is better trap, and more is better can mean many things. More volume, always, bump up the weight a little bit, RX plus or whatnot. Now we're doing the tough stuff. But that's largely nonsense that doesn't deliver the goods, starts to bias your programming, and as the weeks turn into months and years, your community gets less fit because now instead of doing that beautiful, well-rounded program that got everybody so darn fit in the first place, you've started specializing in a certain rep range or loading or whatnot. It's always heavy, it's always long, it's always whatever it is because I'm trying to quote-unquote make the workouts harder. And no, there are some... Well, I'll give you this example. To make a workout harder or easier, so to speak, the knob that you need to turn is just the intensity for the individual, for the workout. That's what gets it done. So for example, a 1.5 mile run. Now some people might shudder right away because that might seem like a marathon to them. And if that's where you are with your fitness, totally understandable and good to go. But let's just talk about, a bunch of people out there that can certainly cover 1.5 miles on the earth. Is 1.5 miles, is that something you do for a warm-up? Or is that an easy workout? Or is that a hard workout? Right? Do you need to make it 3 miles to quote-unquote program a tougher workout? And you could use this same analogy for any other workout where there's loading involved or whatnot. Well, a 3-mile run compared to a 1.5-mile run, it's twice the work, right? 2 times the work. So that must be a harder workout. But not necessarily. It all depends upon how you approach and attack that workout. Again, it's that amazing intensity piece of modulating your intensity from low to medium to high. If I put out a 3-mile run as the workout of the day, even though it's twice the work of a 1.5-mile run, that's not a tougher workout if the intent is, hey, today's going to be a day to go out, put on some tunes in your ears, go ahead and jog at a conversational pace, cover the 3 miles, again, at a conversational pace, and get in, stretch, and have a good day. All right. Now, what if it was the 1.5 mile run? Half the work of the 3. And we said, you know what? 1.5 mile run. And your goal on this is sub 10 minutes. Whoa. Well, now all of a sudden, even though it's half the work of the other workout, the fact that you gave some sort of a parameter that suddenly lets everyone in the world know, oh, this is no laughing matter. Yeah, we're going to have to get after it. This is going to suck. This is a really tough workout. Well, what made it a really tough workout? The other one was 3 miles. It was how the individual athlete applied themselves to that workout, which is why darn near anything can be, I shouldn't say darn near anything can be an easy workout. That's not what I mean to say, because it has, 405 deadlifts in. It's not going to be an easy workout. But modulating your intensity on any day from low to moderate to high can wildly and dramatically change the same workout on paper. And so to make a workout more difficult, you don't necessarily always need to increase the reps or increase the loading, but what you need to do is have a communication back and forth with your community as to what is the intent of what we're looking for today. And then I don't need to make a quote-unquote harder workout, because all people need to do is pour their heart and soul into that workout. I mean, a 6x400 meter run day, right? You don't need to make it 7x400 meter runs, right? We added a 400 meter run. No, you just need to get after it for those workouts. Cindy, 20 minutes long. We don't need to make it 22 minutes long to make it a tougher workout, right? You're going to try to get an extra round in that 20-minute window, and that makes all the difference in the world from how difficult that seems. Or are you going to take your foot off the gas a little bit and do Cindy a little bit easier today? Same workout, but we're going to change it a little bit. So a lot of that is not having to make it more difficult, so to speak. It's how that athlete approaches that workout. And as you do CrossFit for longer and longer, and you get fitter and fitter, and you increase your capacity, and you increase your ability to embrace the suck and embrace some suffering, that actually gives you the opportunity to really bring it on some workouts. And then, some workouts you might not even be able to, Fran might not feel like Fran when you're brand new to CrossFit, because you don't have the actual baseline level of fitness needed to make Fran feel like Fran. 5 years later into doing CrossFit, nothing about Fran has changed, but your athletic ability has changed. Your level of individual strength and conditioning has changed. And now that Fran isn't any different than it was 5 years ago, it stings a whole heck of a lot more, not because we made the workout harder, but because you as an athlete can now really express what that workout was intended to be. So hopefully that helps. And Ben asking for a sore friend, hey, take a rest day. We know that you are allergic to rest days over there in France. That might be a great thing to do. Go ahead, take a rest day. All right. Ben, I have to razz you when I can, because I will never beat you in a workout. All right, next most upvoted question here is from Phil T. Going a little cerebral here. What's the one or two questions that you are surprised no one has asked either about CrossFit or your life experience around fitness yet? Oh, I'll tell you what. Nothing jumps to mind, because I feel like we've covered a fair amount of ground. I mean, as I record this, I'll tell you right now, I won't even guess. I'll tell you exactly what show this is going to be. So as we record this, this Ask Me Anything will be, I'm scrolling down a long Google sheet right now. This will be Linchpin Conversations number 377. 377. We've covered a lot of ground, and in all honesty, approaching 400 episodes, I actually don't know of any other podcast show or stuff on YouTube that has been going on as long as this that has just no nonsense. I mean, if you listen to Linchpin Conversations from show number 1 all the way to what we are recording right now, I think you would be set on a path of making good decisions and knowing what the heck to do and being in charge of your health and fitness almost like nothing else. So I feel like we've covered a fair amount of ground, and I don't know of too many stones that have been unturned. Am I saying that right? Too many stones that have yet to be turned over that we haven't already done that to. And I think if I had to say what's the one or two more cerebral things that I think as somebody progresses in their CrossFit or strength and conditioning, fitness journey, life, that really bring their level of understanding and ability to be doing, workouts for years and decades, it's two concepts. It's number one, modulating intensity. I think that's one of the last things that people get. And even when they get it, they struggle to implement it, because if they give themselves a low or a moderate intensity day, they feel like they shortchanged the workout, or that wasn't an effective workout, and it's such nonsense. So that's one of the things that I think is the most beneficial, but takes people the longest to actually get, understand, and then apply. And then the other concept that's a bit more cerebral that I don't think people get right away, both athletes and programmers, is the difference between training and testing. That is absolutely huge. It's a simple concept, but it's just mission critical to your health, your well-being, your joints feeling good, not being mean to your knees, back, and shoulders, to making meaningful progress and doing this forever. And I actually think a lot of programmers, and this is a problem, don't understand the difference between training and testing. And they write workouts every day that are basically like tests as compared to training workouts, where the rep range is not set up in a way to make the athlete do these meaningful chunks of work that will actually improve their strength and conditioning, giving them rest periods potentially hidden in there that will allow them to do that as well. I mean, think of it, for example, yesterday's workout, I would say, is exactly an example of a training day, not a testing day. And it was also not for time option. So yesterday's workout, yet a different Google Doc right now. Yesterday's workout was, where the heck are we? We were in July. Okay. For time or not, 2-mile run. So just going to take off on a 2-mile run, for time or not. So it doesn't need to be a 2-mile time trial. That's a testing day. Okay? You can't do a testing day every day and think you're not going to burn out. So just go do a 2-mile run. Conversational pace, get in some endurance training, you're good to go. And then you go into 10 rounds for time, or not, of 30 single unders, 15 sit-ups, and then 5 strict weighted pull-ups. So 10 rounds of that. So by the end of 10 rounds, you're going to get in 30 single unders. You're going to have got in 150 sit-ups and 10 sets of 5 on strict weighted pull-ups, right? And so the single unders, you're going to keep your metabolic conditioning, keep your heart rate up the entire time, which you also built off of that 2-mile run. But instead of having me make you go out and run for 40 minutes, I can have you do a 2-mile run. And then I'm going to keep your heart rate elevated the entire time, even though you've quote unquote stopped running, because we're going to be doing single unders. Once you finish the single unders, you're on the ground hitting the midline. You're not really recovering your breath too much right then. You're doing 15 sit-ups. Then you get up to the pull-up bar. You do 5 strict weighted pull-ups. A challenging movement that doesn't exactly lower your heart rate either. And then once you finish that, you're back to the single unders. So the 2-mile run took you whatever it took you, and then that 10-rounder took you, let's say, anywhere from 16 to 24 minutes or something around that time frame as well. So you've had this like 40-minute chunk of elevated heart rate that's like you're out pounding the pavement, but you're not quite, and it's easier on your joints. And then 10 sets of 5 on a weighted strict pull-up is like a beautiful gymnastics strength day, a training day, not a testing day, to increase your upper body pulling capacity. And how long does 30 single unders, you put the rope down, you do 15 sit-ups, you make your way back to the pull-up bar, you get the strap around your waist to put the dumbbell, the plate, or whatever it happens to be. You're getting ballpark about a minute's rest, or maybe a little bit more, depending on how long it took you, before you go back to that pull-up bar to do more sets again. So you're getting this sneaky built-in rest, whether you realize it or not, to give you a little bit of time before you go back to the pull-up bar. And even though they're sets of 5, which maybe doesn't sound that challenging, although strict and weighted certainly is for plenty of the population, they're not just regular strict and weighted pull-ups. They're strict and weighted while your heart rate has never come down, because after that 2-mile run, you're hitting the single unders, you're hitting the sit-ups, and then you're going back to the pull-up bar. And if you have to rest before you do the pull-ups, great. If you have to break up the sets of 5, they don't need to be unbroken. But they're extra challenging sets of 5. not just because they're strict, not just because they're weighted, but because of what you're doing in between when you're quote unquote resting. But that stuff is there, that doesn't interfere with any upper body pulling, that doesn't have any other external loading in it to set you up for as much under duress success as possible for those 5 pull-ups each time, each round. That is a quintessential, as far as I'm concerned, day of training in the gym. We're not testing. We're not testing your 2-mile run. We're not testing your sit-ups. We're not testing your single unders. We're not testing your pull-ups. We're building your cardiovascular endurance. We're building your stamina. We're building your upper body strength, and we're doing it in an intelligent manner that doesn't overtrain the athlete. That whole training versus testing thing, again, I think it's something that not enough athletes understand and not enough programmers understand, in my humble opinion. So I would say that's, not to ramble on that question, but I would think that's one of the other more cerebral topics that a lot of people would do themselves justice to start to pay a bit more of attention to. So, good question. Let's see. What is the next most upvoted question here? Okay, this is from Michael M. Quick question. How important are the designated time and intensity goals for overall success? Well, that plays very well compared to what we just spoke about there. Intensity, modulating intensity and time goals. Okay, so how important are the designated time and intensity goals for overall success? For example, this week with the squat cleans, which was Elizabeth, by the way, I used a heavier weight and didn't really come close to the more likely time of 12 minutes and 30 seconds. I finished in 25 minutes. I realized that everything is programmed for a reason and didn't want to get off track just doing my own thing. Love the workouts, appreciate all you do, thanks. So how important are the designated time and intensity goals for overall success? Short answer, very. There's the shortest answer that I can give you. But it's just like I do with that weekly Friday video on modulating intensity. My plan for how I modulate intensity over the week's workouts doesn't have to be the exact same as your plan. The days that I plan on really getting after it and making it a high intensity day compared to the days that I'm going to go low or moderate, those don't have to be the same days that you choose to have those same intensity levels. All that really matters is that you have a plan. That's all that matters. You can focus on different days, but if you're never allowing yourself to take your foot off the gas, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. So it doesn't have to be my plan, but you should have a plan. And okay, so Michael went heavier than the 135 and 95 pound recommendations, as prescribed loading for Elizabeth. And, the more likely cutoff time was around 12:30, and he's about double that at 25 minutes. So, he says he went heavier. Is that, good, bad? Are you missing something? It's not good or bad. It's just different, okay? You're still doing squat cleans, an amazing functional movement at a challenging loading. You're pairing with ring dips. Like, you're winning. You're not off the couch. You're doing amazing movements. You're going to be a beast. The only potential issue to just be aware of, and it just matters what your fitness goals are, is if you always did something like this, and there's a key thing, does this happen every now and then? Because you're just feeling a little froggy and you want to do something that just, makes you smile that day, that's cool. Go for it. Because giving yourself those days every now and then it keeps you motivated, it keeps you having fun, it keeps you enjoying what you're doing. And then when you go into the gym on those other days, you're more likely to walk in. Okay, so if you got to do this every now and then, have at it. Now, if you do this all the time, then you are, again, it's not right or wrong, but then you're not going to be optimizing your fitness from what the definition of fitness truly is, being well-rounded across a wide range of time domains, loadings, rep ranges, modalities, the whole 9 yards. Because let's say that on a regular basis, you're always, you just love the heavy loads, as some people do. And so you always bump something up and you're like double the time on every time that should have been a moderate or a light day because you bumped it up to heavy every single day. Well, a common misconception is, well, if I can move a heavier load, I'm going to be able to move the lighter loads quickly. Incorrect, wrong, false, not true. So you have to expose yourself to all of those different items in order to excel at them. And so, I'm taking this question in a different direction, but maybe it'll help. If any time that a light or a moderate load gets programmed, you love the heavy weights and you always make it significantly heavier and you double the time, well, then you are neglecting at least one, if not more, areas of your fitness, such as the lighter loadings and the moderate loadings. And those heavier loadings will not save you through the burn and stamina of the more moderate and lighter ones. You have to expose yourself to them as well. So if you want to develop the widest range and capacity of fitness possible, it is important to allow yourself exposure to all those different days, because they all have a purpose and they're all intentionally designed pieces of the puzzle that all beautifully fit together. And so that would be my thing there. Like, hey, you love to do it, you do it every now and then, totally, hey, have a blast, right? Life's short. Do what you like to do. Get yourself in the gym. Have a blast. If it happens all the time, yeah, you will develop a niche that you're probably really good at, but at the expense of a lot of other things that you have been blowing off or changing to favor what you enjoy. And so that would be my answer to that. Okay. Next most upvoted one. Here we go. From Nikos. Greece right now is hot. He put that in all capitals, hot. And Athens is always humid. How much does this affect performance? Any ways to counter that? Any ways to counter if it doesn't involve ventilation? Oh, Nikos, I'll have to tell you that I agree with you. I personally think that that heat and humidity, that combination, is one of the most difficult environments and challenging environments to work out in. I lived in a whole bunch of different places in my life, both in the US and outside the US, for a short period of time. And when I lived in the dirty South, southeastern United States of America, which is just hot and humid, like you're just pouring sweat and the humidity's through the roof, I think it's some of the most difficult workout conditions, period, end of story. And I also lived in Denver, Colorado for a few years as well. So I lived at elevation, mile high city. I think sea level, hot and humid, is so much more challenging than even elevation like that. I think it's rugged. Any sort of tips or whatnot or tricks? And I worked out there for years. I didn't have any particular tips or tricks other than, to the best of my ability, trying to work out not in the total middle of the day, early in the morning, late in the evening when there was a little bit of a break, in the shade compared to outside. If you're fortunate and blessed to have somewhere that has got air conditioning, which it doesn't sound like that's the case, or a big box fan or something you can point at yourself, great. But other than that, I just had a towel because I would have to just continually wipe the sweat off myself, my hands, and the barbell, because you're just dripping with sweat so badly that the chalk that you have put on your hands to keep your hands dry and the barbell dry isn't doing that at all, and it just turns into like a paste because sweat's running down into the chalk that's on your hands, and now you just have, it's like you wiped white toothpaste all over the barbell, and you just have to constantly just be brushing it off and re-chalking again and re-chalking again. You're toweling off your forearms because the sweat's running down your forearms onto your hands. My friend, I think you're one of the most rugged environments for working out. And again, early in the morning, late in the evening, if that works for you, investing in some sort of a fans. Other than that, there's just a whole lot of toweling. But I don't have any amazing tips or tricks. Depending upon what you got going on, you could have some cooling towels near you, some ice or whatnot to put in the back of your neck. But again, I think that's more rugged than elevation or anything else. And I've worked out in Bogota, Colombia, Quito, Ecuador at 11,000 feet of elevation or whatnot. And I think hot and humid is the worst. All right, let's see. What's the next most upvoted one? From Chris R. Follow up to the last Ask Me Anything with Emily. Since she doesn't like GHD sit-ups, what movement does she choose instead when they're programmed? Largely, she chooses V-ups will be her number one go-to in place of GHD sit-ups. Funny Emily's story, since she's not here right now, and she can't tell me not to tell it. So we just took a nice little family vacation, and then she drove right from there with our oldest boy, 13 years old Deacon, to Las Vegas because both our boys play AAU basketball, and there's this big AAU tournament going on in Las Vegas right now. So she's there currently for this weekend tournament. Hopefully they do well. So she traveled, woke up, and, all the teams are staying in basically the same hotel. She got up this morning, went down early to the gym, tried to get something in real quick, and she walked into the gym. It's supposed to be a rest day, but that's just not how it worked out. And there was several of the AAU coaches in there. And I'm not hating on anybody, okay? Just, we all do different things. Just doing some classic bodybuilding stuff, some dumbbell kickbacks for the triceps, just doing that stuff that I grew up doing. And she's like, oh, I know how this is going to go. She's obviously a woman. She's like, I've been in this situation before. They get these 3 or 4 guys in here doing their routine. And she's like, and I'm going to do something, and they're going to think that I'm an absolute lunatic. And I guess the guy was doing a dumbbell kickback. I think she said with a 25-pound dumbbell. That was the set of dumbbells that she had initially wanted. So she's like, I can't grab the 20s. Those would be too light, so I'll grab the 30s. So she walked over, grabbed the 30s, and then she just did 10 down to 1 of dumbbell thrusters and burpees and just tried to rip through it and get it done as fast as she could. You obviously know how that workout probably felt, the sounds that probably emanated from her body. And then if somebody isn't used to seeing that style training, she's like, the whole gym's covered in mirrors. She's like, every time that I would either come up from a burpee and jump and look in the mirror, be at the top of the thruster, she goes, I could just see everyone staring at me like I was stark raving mad and wondering what in the world was this crazy woman doing in the gym. So, Emily usually does V-ups instead of GHDs, and now she's the crazy person working out in a gym, hotel gym in Las Vegas today. All right, let's see. Next most upvoted one. Eric John, I see your question. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of CrossFit? I don't really have any idea, to be honest with you, at the top of my head. I'll have to pause on that. I'm not sure. Greg's there, and then maybe it's just Greg. It's his deal. Maybe it's just Greg. All right, let's see. But I'm sorry, I didn't put any thought into that one. And let's see. This is from Eric CM. A time travel machine gets invented. What fitness advice do you give to your younger self? Whew. What fitness advice to my younger self? Man. Well, kind of some of the stuff that I said earlier. I certainly did not understand the value of modulating intensity. Burned it down every day. Terrible idea. Luckily, I didn't really fall into the more is better trap, so that was cool. I definitely didn't understand training versus testing. Again, which we covered earlier. I would do that as well. And I would also let myself know that community matters and consistency matters, and those two things are linked. That life's a team sport, and everyone's a hero working out for a day, a week, a month, or maybe even a year. Whoop-de-doo. But consistency matters. If you get yourself with a group of like-minded people, you figure out what works for you, you give yourself some grace, you understand scaling, you understand modulating intensity, all those things, and now I check back in with you and you're working out 5 or 10 years later, you have won. I don't think I realized that life is a very long race. And if you're fit in your 20s and your 30s, you're kind of supposed to be, and it's not remarkable. That's not a slight at anybody. I'm not saying you're not working hard, but then when you see somebody in their 40s and they're still fit, you're like, interesting. Wow. Well, you don't see that every day. What do you got going on? That's pretty cool. What are you training for? You see somebody that still looks fit in their 50s, and now you're looking at even more of a rare, almost extinct species that captures your eye because you just don't see that regularly. You see somebody in their 60s or beyond that is athletic or in the gym or moving around or doing something, you have most of the world's undivided attention. So I don't just think I had an appreciation for, if you really want to live a long, healthy, meaningful life, to be as fit and capable as possible for as long as possible, what that really meant, and what was the actual best, most intelligently thought out path to get there. I just didn't know what I didn't know. Okay. All right, just a couple more and then we are good to go. Let's see. These are from the BTWB Linchpin Squad. This is from Scott P. Scott says, on a recent VNR, you and Adrian talked about breakfast choices. Most delicious meal of the day. Neither of you mentioned protein powder. What are your thoughts on the whole smoothie idea? Whole food sources better or just personal preference? So first of all, I do have some protein powder in the pantry. And I usually just make myself a protein shake with some whole milk, by the way. After I work out, I'll go in and have it. And I mostly do it because it's delicious. It's a delicious peanut butter chocolate flavor, and I think it's really enjoyable. And it just helps me get in a little bit of extra protein, right after the workout. It's some sugar and it's all good. And I know that somebody will probably say, well, you get some fat in there with the whole milk, you're going to blunt your adaptation. I don't care. I'm fine. And in the grand scheme of things, that's not going to do much. It's going to be the fact that I ate, good quality foods for most of my meals, most of the time, and, try to avoid stuffing crap into my face. Like, that's probably going to move the needle, compared to whether or not I had fat in my post-workout shake. So, in general, smoothies, I guess it just depends upon what's in it, right? It can be fine. I think all you need to do, depending upon where you are with your fitness goals, your body composition, your nutrition, et cetera, the thing you have to worry about with a smoothie, if you're not happy with your body composition goals and you're trying to lose a little bit of weight, is it's really easy to have a big container of something that is sure, it's full of wonderful, real foods. You're not mixing up Ritz crackers in there or something. It's berries and bananas and mango, whatever it happens to be. But it can be a huge just bucket of calories that you sip down and you drink, and at the end of it, it doesn't really leave you that full or satisfied because it's a drink and it wasn't a big meal, but you get a ton of calories, but then you're still kind of hungry, and then you eat some other stuff and suddenly you're eating more calories than you should at the end of the day, and you're not meeting your weight goals, and you don't understand why because you're having this healthy smoothie. So again, I don't think a smoothie is good or evil. I think it just depends upon knowing exactly what's in it, knowing exactly the caloric density of it, and knowing whether or not it fits into your specific goals. That's it. I don't think there's anything good or bad with it. I just think knowledge is power with that. And I think in general, drinking calories can just be it can catch some people off guard with how many calories are in it. So just take that, for what it's worth. Okay. One more question here. This is from Manson M. Okay. Manson says, having been hit with life for the last couple of weeks, nothing too dramatic, I've been inconsistent with my workouts to say the least. Until I started Linchpin, I'd been programming for myself for a year or so and really enjoyed writing the workouts. Today was my first day back to working out, but the only way I motivated myself to do it was to write my own workout. I did make sure that it was similar to today's workout, but I do know that it wasn't exactly the same stimulus. Do you see any issues with doing some of my own benchmarks every once in a while, assuming that the movements and time domains are relatively close? I have an idea of what your response will be, but for reference, my workout was a 1 mile run, then 5 rounds of 20 wall balls and 25 sit-ups. Okay, so great question. I feel like this plays in really well to something that came up earlier. And my mind is just so, I've hit my head far too often in my life, and I can't remember exactly what question it was. But it was about just doing something that you want every now and then, I don't have any issue with that. So Manson, I don't have any issue with that, because you doing that, it got you into the gym. That's what you needed. Like you said, having been hit with life for the last couple of weeks, nothing too dramatic, but I've been inconsistent with my workouts, etc., etc. So if something for the last couple of weeks has been unusually stressful in your life, your routine is off, all those other things, and life's just kind of hit you a little bit. That's, again, at Linchpin, we are all about real life in the real world. We are real people with real responsibilities, and we're just doing our best to make more good decisions than bad decisions. That's it. They don't have to be perfect. That, I really do think the perfection is the enemy of just doing good. Perfect is the enemy of the good. So just allowing yourself to do what you want to do every now and then, and that helps that fire start in you again, gets you into the gym, gets you doing functional movements. I mean, you did running, wall balls, and sit-ups. That's awesome. Now, you got the running in. Great. It was okay. So it was a 1 mile instead of 2. You still went out there and ran. I think you're talking about that workout that I just mentioned earlier, which was the 2 mile run and the 10 rounds of the single unders, sit-ups, and the strict weighted pull-ups. So you get in a 1 mile run instead of a 2. You still ran. So you broke the cycle of this crappy couple weeks that you've been in. And you did sit-ups, 5 rounds of 25. So you got in sit-ups. Fantastic. Great. Now, we specifically didn't have any below parallel in the workout. You did wall balls, but it's a beautiful functional movement. You're great. A key part of the workout that we did was, getting in your upper body strict pulling. You didn't have upper body strict pulling. Okay. Is your fitness now like, well, it's all for nothing, just a dumpster fire, not going to be fit anymore? No, not true. If a workout like this, you enjoyed making it, you tried to make it kind of close, you did get close with some things, you didn't get close with some others, but you did a good workout, and this is the workout that you needed to kickstart you again and get you back on track, then this workout is an absolute crown jewel masterpiece home run. It's beautiful because that's what you needed. So, getting back to one of your questions as well, if you love doing that and every now and then, you've got a benchmark that you created, you think it's really fun, you like to do it, and every now and then you want to do one of your benchmarks, do one of your benchmarks. It's just maybe just the mindset that I have. I wouldn't like if somebody said, hey, no, you can never deviate in any way, shape, or form. You've got to do this, and if you don't do this, it's just a waste. That's just simply not true. Is everything that we do at Linchpin intentional and thought out? Absolutely. And I'm sorry, I'm not afraid to say probably with more time, thought, effort, and everything else than any other strength and conditioning program that I'm aware of. We put a lot into what we do, and there's not a single darn random thing in anything. Like I said, it's all that puzzle pieces fitting together to optimize your fitness. Great. But if you want to do something else because you want to, freedom is a wonderful thing. So allow yourself that freedom every now and then, and fitness will still be achieved. You will be good to go. It's going to be okay. I'll tell you this, the other day, I think it was the day that we were going to take off for the family vacation just a few days ago. So maybe it was Saturday or Friday. I can't remember what it was. But it was that heavy day at a high heart rate for Linchpin, which was, with one barbell, 30 deadlifts at 275 pounds, then 20 front squats at 185, and then 10 squat snatch at 135. The women had different loading there, but that just miserable heavy day at a high heart rate. I got into the gym, was going to warm up and see how I felt, and as I've been very vocal about, I've got terrible shoulders, not from working out, but from motorcycle wrecks in the military. And as I started to warm up, it became really obvious that it was just not going to be an overhead day. It just wasn't. And so I was like, fine. Well, and then I allowed myself just some creative freedom to just have a bit of fun with the workout. So I did something kind of different, but fitness was still achieved and I was fine. I'm like, all right, look, well, the workout's got a bunch of pulling off the ground. We're going to do 30 deads at 275. It's got a rugged below parallel, that one set of 20 at 185. And then you go in below parallel 10 times as well, with the 135 snatch. Yeah, I get an explosive hip opening. Yeah, it's overhead. I understand that. But we get a lot of pulling from the ground, a lot of below parallel, and it's a heavy day at a high heart rate. So I said, you know what I could do? It's just popped into my head, and I'm like, let's just see how this goes. I loaded up a barbell to 275, and then I broke out the 150-pound D-ball. And I did a workout. I'm like, you know what? At first, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? This is all the thought processes that went through my head. I'm going to do 21-15-9, 275 dead, and then a 150-pound D-ball, just kind of bear hugging or cradling the ball in front of my body, squat. And then as I was, continuing to warm up and build up weight, I said, no, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. 21-15-9 of that would be so much standing around, and I don't have that much time to stand around. So I'm still warming up and moving, but this is all just going on in my head. I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to keep the 150 D ball. I'm going to keep the 275 dead. And then I went through a couple different rep ranges in my head, and then I landed on 7 rounds of 7 and 7. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do 7 rounds of 7 deadlifts at 275, 7 squats holding the 150-pound D-ball in front of my body. Great. Now, I knew that it was going to be challenging, right? Because it's 49 deadlifts at 275 and it's 49 deadlifts with a 150-pound D-ball. And there's not really a break for the old posterior chain, right? Pulling heavy off the ground, squatting heavy below parallel, and then midline through the roof with those deadlifts, and then holding that D-ball in front of your body, tons of midline there as well. And so I knew that it was going to be a challenging workout, knew that it would be a heavy day, obviously, and I knew that I'm sure my heart rate would go up. So it's a heavy day to high heart rate. Pulling from the ground, going below parallel. Similar to what everybody else did, whose shoulders allowed them to go overhead for the squat snatch, but still a little bit different. But fitness would be achieved. So again, allow yourself those days, because I allow them to myself as well. And I'm here to tell you, if you maybe have those implements and you want to go ahead and try that workout on some day, like I said, I knew that it would be challenging. That workout hit me in a way that I didn't see coming. I knew that it would be challenging, and maybe I just needed more sleep. Maybe it was the hour of the day. Maybe it was, I don't know. But it hit my central nervous system and had me hyperventilating like I was doing wind sprints, and I lay down on the ground after that in a pool of sweat and didn't move for a very long period of time that I didn't see coming. It was a rugged little number. So if you're looking to put yourself in the hurt locker, which all of us are looking for every now and then, go ahead and give that one a whirl and let me know what you think. I'm sorry. Okay. Final quick question from Austin C. What happened to the term fire breather? I remember hearing it used regularly to describe the first generation of top-level athletes in CrossFit, but I can't say I've heard it for years. Am I older and just closer to death, or did it simply fall out of fashion? It's a good question, to be quite honest with you, Austin, because I certainly remember hearing the word frequently. And yeah, I don't know if it just kind of fell out of fashion or the terms came in or whatnot, but you're right. It certainly was around in the earlier days and doesn't seem to be quite as ubiquitous as it used to be. So that's it. Well, hey, everybody, it's a Thursday. It's a rest day. Most of us should be taking that rest day. I certainly plan on doing that. I hope that you all enjoyed the week's workouts. We got good ones once again kicking off tomorrow. Thanks for all the awesome questions. Treat each other well, support one another, and we'll talk soon.